Today, you will have to suffice with my person. The other ministers either occupied or had something else to do. But the only person who will be at this press briefing today is myself. I apologize for that. I would like to attend, first of all, to a very important issue. Last week I issued a press release regarding the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin, in which I lamented the rumors and innuendo circulating as far as the President of the Central Bank is concerned and the board of the Management Board of the Central Bank. Rumors and innuendos are really vexing and could tarnish people's reputation, career. I have therefore decided, and I have issued instructions to the Secret Service of St. Martin, the VDSM, to conduct an integrity investigation relating to the President and the directors of the Central Bank. And I've also directed a letter to my colleague in Curaçao, Minister of Finance, requesting him to also instruct the VDSM in Curaçao to conduct a similar investigation, all with the goal in mind to once and for all eliminate all rumors and innuendos regarding the top of the central bank. It's important that there are no questions of integrity or otherwise surrounding or any aura surrounding the management of the central bank. If such questions are continuing, it attracts undesirable players in the field, which we do not want. Besides that, a central bank has to have an aura of integrity at all times, and we need to get to the bottom of whatever it is, and I believe that through this method, these rumors and innuendos are either confirmed or eliminated once and for all. The law requires that people who occupy sensitive positions of confidentiality, that they are all subject to screening. So besides, as a general step to dispel rumors and innuendos, under the law, this is a matter of normal course of action to be able to screen people in those positions. So for that reason, I've also issued these instructions to our Secret Service, and have requested the Minister of Finance to do the same. Why the Minister of Finance in Curaçao? Because the central bank is owned jointly. We have a common currency union with Curaçao, and it requires both ministers of finance to act to be able to attain the screening goal I mentioned. Yesterday, the Council of Ministers met with the members of the board of CFT, discussed the issues regarding the budget, expectations for the rest of the year, and the status where we're in now. As you know, the first quarter has been quite alarming in terms of the revenues that we had generated. But the numbers, the subsequent months, April and May, have shown a considerable improvement in the revenues, which were more than the revenues generated during those months in the previous year. The world is in turmoil. Brexit, slowdown globally. And that, of course, like we always say, when the United States sneezes, we catch a cold. It will have an effect on us. But the effect, I predict, is not going to be as disastrous as one would think. We're holding our own as far as tourist numbers are concerned up to now. The revenues are up, at least for March, for April and May compared to last year. So we've got to wait and see how those numbers play out the rest of the year. But I believe still, and I'm convinced that we will be able to hold our own. Part of the discussions that I've had with the CFT, as well during the Council of Ministers meeting, as well as the meeting I held with them after the Council of Ministers meeting, was focused on the tax department and the investment that is required to be able to make the tax department more efficient. I'm pleased to report that the CFT has an open mind and is positive in assisting in seeing how those investments can be obtained. And we are preparing the necessary information in terms of what we want to do short term. And based on that, we will be directing a request to the CFT to approve a loan so that we could start making some serious investments into the tax department. The Prime Minister is still abroad, as you know. Yesterday there was a vote in the United Nations in which the Netherlands and Italy will be sharing a seat on the Security Council. I'd like to extend my congratulations to the Netherlands with this achievement. This position on the Security Council is a very important and powerful position. So congratulations to the Netherlands. And I also would like to end by mentioning that it came to my attention that the Minister of Kingdom Affairs, Mr. Ronald Plasterk, has to undergo a heart operation, and that he probably will be out of circulation for a while. I would like to extend, on behalf of the Council of Ministers, our best wishes to Mr. Plasterk and wish him a speedy recovery.
The Department of Communication, in collaboration with the University of St. Martin, invites you to our second lecture in the series The Law Matters to You. Join us at USM 7 p.m. Tuesday, July 5th, and hear keynote speaker, civil law notary Mrs. Meredith Bookert, cover topics such as wills, estate planning, and family law. The Law Matters to You, a lecture series built to inform and educate.
Minister Gibson, I have some questions outside of your statements. In 2013, when the Minister of Finance then, the former Minister of Finance, Roland Chouet, he started a tax write-off from, I think, going back to 2006 and backwards. I think the incoming minister after Chouet had abandoned that process. Since you took office, have you taken up back that tax write-off situation, or where are we in that?
For accuracy's sake, maybe I should mention that in 2006, the then Minister of Finance issued a decree instructing the receiver of taxes not to collect taxes owed prior to 2006. That was a measure he took based on the anticipation that the necessary legislation would be filed to be able to support that decision. That legislation was never filed or never passed by Parliament. The instruction from the minister, however, up to this moment stands. There has been activity to be able to submit legislation to deal once and for all with that issue, and I have decided I'm picking it up and that I am going to push it through the Council of Ministers as well as through Parliament to be able to finalize that issue. Because for all intents and purposes, taxes prior to 2006 have all already expired. And actually, de facto, collection of those taxes are no longer possible. However, under the rules, since those taxes have expired, if the receiver of taxes, through other means, gets into possession of funds that are owed to you, she is at liberty to apply those funds to the taxes that have been expired. So from that point of view, it is not final, it is not definitive. My purpose and my intention is going to be to push through the necessary legislation so it becomes definitive.
On another topic, I believe last week the Council of Ministers were supposed to deal with the situation based on after the court ruling regarding sex workers and brothel workers. My understanding is that this whole issue have become so broad that even brothels and nightclubs have been considered as one. Did the Council of Ministers discuss this issue? Are we going back to the old policy whereby club owners can file or request the working and residency permit for these sex workers, or where exactly are we? What's the new procedure?
Yes, the item did come up in the Council of Ministers and was discussed, however, not yet finalized. There are several issues that are being dealt with. First of all, it has been several months ago that the Council of Ministers already made a decision to pursue a different path, the path being making these ladies entrepreneurs and having the Department of Economic Affairs issue their entrepreneur permit. The research has started since then by TIAT, by the Ministry of Justice, as to whether or not legally that's possible. It was reported now in the meeting yesterday that a modus have been found to do that legally. I have not seen it yet, I have not studied it yet, but that was reported to the Council of Ministers yesterday, as well as the Ministry of Justice will be finalizing its policy and presenting it to the Council of Ministers on Thursday. So the agenda point has been moved from yesterday to Thursday, and hopefully it would be a complete policy that the Council of Ministers can decide on. I also would like to mention in that regard that there's only one permit called Animeer Meisjes permit that covers everybody. It doesn't make a distinction. Under the law that was passed last year, criminal law procedure or criminal law code has been changed. In it, it states that no one can operate a brothel, no one can offer sex services unless it has been acknowledged and recognized to do so by the Minister of Justice. So, under the law, none of these brothels have yet received a permit based on the law passed by Parliament last year to operate a brothel. That is an issue that has been discussed at length in the Council of Ministers and with the Minister of Justice. And the Minister of Justice, first of all, will have to identify and acknowledge which locations may operate brothels and issue to them so that the whole world knows those are the locations authorized to have brothel activity, so to speak. Based on the intention, the Minister of Visa, Minister of Labor will no longer be issuing work permits, because the system that was agreed to months ago in the Council of Ministers, it will be entrepreneurship, would be the direction we're going to, and the person participating in that business will be free to enter into agreement with whoever, whatever location identified by the Minister of Justice as a brothel, to be able to exercise that business. There is a court case that's pending because the Minister of Labor had refused to accept requests for work permits. And in that, the court had said that the Minister of Labor has no right to refuse accepting these requests. So the Minister of Labor is accepting those requests, but unfortunately, given the law that was passed by Parliament, is not in a position to issue a work permit to work in a brothel unless you know which brothel and that brothel is authorized. So the issues are quite complicated and being dealt with, and we're going to continue the discussion and deliberation when the Minister of Justice comes with his final document for discussion on Thursday. Don't hold your breath that it might be finalized on Thursday. I mean, there might be other issues that need to be addressed that perhaps to finalize this will take a little longer. But it's on the agenda for this week's Thursday.
My other question is,
Bibi,
I can say,
let's go closer to the microphone so we can hear you.
my other question, you can say it's weighing between two ministries, labor and it might also affect your ministry. So I'm going to ask you the part that I think would affect your
I didn't hear the other ministry. Which one?
VSR.
Yeah, it's labor, that's VSR, and the other one?
It's might affect the Minister of Finance, the Finance Ministry, it might. So depending on your answer, I will know if that is the case. There is an ongoing saga at Maho where they're trying to, at one point, terminate, and now I'm hearing transfer of employees. And when I looked at the document signed by the owner of Maho and the union, Wixu PSU, I am seeing it's more like a change of hands, something that happened at Pelican a few years ago. If you know, is this for some kind of tax write-off or tax purposes, or anything that this developer have chosen not once but 3 times now to change hands, but still remain the owner of the company? What benefit is he getting? Is government going to be losing money because he's changing hands? Is there some kind of tax write-off here?
Bibi, you know, each ministry have their area that they are responsible for and deal with. And I will not pretend to know everything that's going on in each ministry. What I would suffice by saying to you on this issue is that the Minister of Labor, in a press briefing before, or in his responses to Parliament, has stated that all of the parties relative to the changeover that is going on at Maho are in agreement with each other to do this, and that there are certain guarantees, in his opinion, given by Maho that does not make that the same situation as it is by the old Pelican situation. I have no reason to doubt what the Minister of Labor is stating in that regard, but the fact that he has stated that, and I need to accept that it is so, namely the necessary protection and security for all those employees are in place. I accept that.
BB, thank you very much for your questions. Andrew Dick, the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Good morning, Minister Gibson. On the issue of the fire department, I know last week they had a little protest action, and they met with the Prime Minister and I believe yourself. No? Oh, okay. Well, some commitments were made in the meeting. Were you updated on it?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I really have no knowledge as to what happened there, what was discussed, whether there was a solution or not. That has not reached the Council of Ministers, so I can't speak to that at all.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Hilbert Hart, Today newspaper, you have the floor.
Good morning, Minister. A couple of years ago, the Social Economic Council issued an advice to get out of the monetary union in a hurry, to put it in popular terms. What is the current feeling of the government about the monetary union?
Well, the government has not, as an issue or as a subject, expressed or discussed or deliberated on that. I know that, although not expressed publicly, it has been expressed publicly that the central bank, the Minister of Finance of Curacao would rather, and there have always been voices coming from the South relative to that they want their own central bank. A decision or expression in terms of what St. Martin wants, this government at any rate has not addressed it or accepts the status quo until there's reason to take a different position. The monetary union is a two-sided sword. I have said in Parliament that it could be a source of attracting capital that is just sitting in a drawer, and you know how I hate having capital just sitting in a drawer and not working. But that's a choice that needs to be made. On the other hand, you have issues such as Venezuela, which is probably Curaçao's biggest trading partner, and given the state of the economy of Venezuela, it is quite a blow to the Curaçao economy.
Yep.
And it will have effects on the reserves at the central bank to be able to cope with that shortfall in trade reduction with Venezuela. And of course, St. Martin's contribution in foreign exchange will help Curaçao under those circumstances where it has quite an impact on its economy. So the monetary union is positive from that point of view, given these situations for Curaçao. But the situation could be just the reverse, where we might have some kind of economic setback, and then we would want some kind of backup in terms of our reserves, and then having the monetary union would be helpful to us. There are pros and cons as far as the monetary union is concerned, and as long as a side is not chosen, I think the monetary union will remain as it is.
Okay, thank you.
In the monetary union, you've got situations like we have now with the central bank. Who has the right to appoint the president of the central bank, of the supervisory board of the central bank? That has been an issue that has been vexing for many years. Eventually, it was the court, because St. Martin and Curaçao could not agree on a person to be the president of the supervisory board of the central
Yeah.
bank. So the court appoint, and that person still sits up to today. We also have issues with appointing people to the supervisory board of the bank. Because the idea is to keep the equilibrium in terms of the representatives of St. Martin, the representative of Curacao. That also has tension. So there are several issues that concerns the monetary union and the central bank that will continue to be contentious. That might be an issue also, say, let's resolve it and let's get out of it. But again, the bottom line answer to your question is a specific course of action or view or decision relative to the monetary union has not been taken by this government.
Okay, thank you. Another question is about the investigation that you announced. Has Mr. Trump been made aware of that initiative beforehand?
Well, you know, no investigation, according to rules, can take place unless the people concerned consent and agree to the screening.
So Mr. Trump agrees
He
with...
will have to be approached, and of course, if you refuse, you will draw your conclusions from that.
I know.
Yeah. No,
But
he knows.
But he still
knows.
has to be approached.
He still has to be approached by the VDSM,
Yeah,
and the Minister of Finance of Curacao still have to give his instruction also, as far
Okay.
as Curacao is concerned.